Mirror, mirror on the wall, why do Mondays suck most of all? Wait, don't answer that. It's time for another episode of New Job, Who Dis? Happy Monday, one and all my 10 listeners and anyone new dropping in and breezing through another new episode of New Job Who Dis, episode 21. Ladies and lover squeezes, I'm telling you what, we are legally allowed to drink now. We're 21. How exciting is that? Too bad we burned out on all of that during bartending. Or did we? That's another story. Either way, welcome everybody. I am your host of this lovely adventure known as New Job Who Dis. I am Halston Body. I am a pro wrestling manager, as you may very well know, and I can be currently seen on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood on the United Wrestling Network. Please go to UnitedWrestlingTV.com or UnitedWrestlingNetwork.com to find local listings. It is also available on the Fight TV app. And of course, you can check me out here on YouTube if you are watching here at home or on your phone, wherever you can find me. There you are. Thank you for being part of us. And of course, much love to my 10 listeners listening on Spotify and of course, Apple Podcasts and the Podbean Network. Thank you for tuning in. We are smack dab in the middle of a crazy and wild adventure as we are taking on a big fish. And that big fish is called being a stand-up comic. As you may have caught up with on Friday, I am currently getting gigs in Los Angeles. I'm currently putting on the hustle afterburners to try and figure it out. And I want to make sure I give everybody perspective about the time frame we were talking about. This is the time between 2001 and 2004, 3-year span. And technology speaking, we are in the middle of LiveJournal and MySpace days. Oh yeah. And Napster and LimeWire as well. But that's another story. The thing to know is that when you're chasing Hollywood dreams, things seem a little manual right now compared to, 2020. Oh my gosh. I feel like there's that level of, oh man, back in my day, it was so hard. But realistically, Facebook didn't exist. Cell phones didn't exist like they do. Oh, I had my first phone was a Virgin mobile phone. The one where you had to get the cards and pay for the minutes and you had to recharge. Perspective. Oh yeah. iPods weren't even out yet. How about that? What? That seems so long ago, but it really wasn't. Less than 20 years ago. 19 to 16 years ago. How quickly the world turns. So I'm out there in Los Angeles working at the phone company, SBC Pacific Bell in North Hollywood at 611 Repair. Living that Midwestern day job dream and paying the bills. I go bankrupt. Hooray! I'm debt-free now. $26,000 out the window? Thanks, bankruptcy. So I'm just this wild child, single, living in Los Angeles, and working and making pretty damn good money doing it. So what's a adventurous, spunky kid like me got to lose? Let's get into the stand-up comedy arena. Scratching some sort of itch because I'm liking it. I keep going back to it week by week, by the way. I am currently working at a place called the Ha Ha Cafe. Work in the room there on Thursday nights with a comedian by the name of Elena Saris. I have to correct myself from last Friday's episode. Elena Saris. It literally just came to me. It wasn't Elena Davis. Close. And she was a great fun lesbian comedian, and I was this new gay bear comedian. I say question mark because if you listen to Friday's episode, I'm kind of having this weird identity question mark above my head in the Sims realm of life. There's a giant, instead of a green diamond or a green crystal above my head, there's a big question mark. Yes, I am a bear. Sure. Chunky guy, got some facial hair, have a goatee. I'm hanging out with the bears, the LGBT gay bear grouping of Los Angeles and Ventura and California. I'm out here with the California Bears, right? I mean, that's who I clung on to. I didn't hang out with people I worked with. That was also a lesson that came to fruition during this time, is that I realized after being at the phone company for 4 years in Los Angeles, North Hollywood, I really wasn't friends with people I worked with. I was friends with them at work, but I was not hanging out with them at the barbecue. I was not going to their house. I was not meeting their kids. I wasn't hanging out, or we weren't going to the clubs, with none of that. But at work, I was very popular. I was making Christmas cookies every year for the entire 300 plus staff. That's nuts. And multiple departments too. It wasn't just, the 611 repairers, managers and IT and everybody in the building. And they were just losing it. Great. Becoming a little fan favorite at work, right? Got on a game show. Ooh, popularity notch. Oh my God, you're on a game show? Wow, that's great. So yeah, I'm kind of a likable, fun, good, hardworking employee at 611 Repair at Pacific Bell in North Hollywood. Great. Bored. And I say that because I start getting bored. Why? Because I start really liking this stand-up comedy thing. It's kind of fun. Oh, I get to stand on stage and tell jokes and try to make people laugh and maybe get paid for it. I don't know, that sure beats living, huh? Sure beats that day job that you signed up for, huh? Except I wasn't making nearly anything that would compare to a full-time job with benefits and protections by a union or whatever. I was like, again, good benefits, solid money, constant work, overtime opportunities. Work it till your fingers are, to the bone. But either way, it's a living, right? Right? Help me. I don't know. See what I mean? Identity crisis. What am I going through? Not only am I I'm hanging out with the Bears, but I'm becoming this gay stand-up comic. But I wasn't owning the bear in me. I didn't feel committed to that. I didn't feel like it was culturally in the realm of making that a public thing about myself so that I could explain it to people. Because at that time, again, it wasn't a cultural thing where everybody knew about it. Everybody was like, oh, bears, we know, you're a bear. Like, gay people knew about it. The Bears knew about it. But it really hadn't hit that peak of like straight culture and youth culture, understanding that there's all these layers and sandboxes within the gay and lesbian community. LGBTQ, it was just LGBT that long ago. And then there was QIA, it just all expanded. And then all these, the Bears have been around a lot longer than that. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a thing. And I didn't feel like I wanted it to be a thing for me. However, noticing that I'd went to 2 bear events, and when I say bear events, I mean a whole lot of dudes that are gay bears go to a hotel in some city and have a weekend. There's events, there's dancing, there's bar crawls, there's plenty of very close, let's just say it. It's a sex convention. I'm just going to have to say it out loud. Oh, no, you can dance or you can paint it however you want. you could, and it's not for everybody. Let's just be honest. It's not like everybody's there to hook up. That's not what it is. However, it sure is lined up and painted and created for an absolutely thirsty band of merry gentlemen to be in a hotel all weekend long. And there you have it. I don't have to fill in the blanks, kids. I mean, small or large, these bear events were absolutely hypersexual. The advertising, the photos, the wink and nod and everything. That's what they are. At least I'm going to put it this way. It's my perception of 25 years of being around them, knowing them, being elbow deep in living in the bear culture and lifestyle. I guarantee you it is a fairly majority rules of hypersexuality in a gay culture community. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying it as it's the worst. It's it's bad because of that. I'm just stating the fact. And anyone who is in the community that, has been around long enough, I would argue that it is what it is, as they say. Fair. And I was a single guy turning 30, living in Los Angeles, sowing his oats. Of course I'm going to jump on that train. Why wouldn't I? Are you kidding me? Hot and cold running pleasures? What? Come on now. And, youth is king. So yeah, who's this young cublet joining our bear collaborations out here in the city? Yeah, of course. Had a ball. So again, not a pointed accusatory, assessment of what the bear community is. They do a lot of charity. Yes, they do a lot for each other. Yes, there's camaraderie and friendships and lifetimes of memories and things that we, buds. However, I just had this weird taste in my mouth when it really started to ramp up as far as my hanging out with and dealings with and working with and doing things and being around the gay bears most, if not all the time. So I struggled early on as a comic easily because I couldn't find my footing. I couldn't find my direct voice. Sure, bears, but again, not really trying to do that. I wasn't trying to make myself a stereotype. I wasn't trying to make myself a one-note person. I was like, no, I can talk to anybody. I want to make everybody laugh. I don't want to just point it at the bears. Boy, did that change, because then I put two and two together and I started doing my own levels of what you would say, I guess, marketing, self-branding, strategizing on how I can break in. Because I didn't see a path of myself doing straight comedy, going to the clubs and the ice houses and the improvs and telling dating's hard, right, ladies jokes. Like I didn't have that, dentist airplane food level of hot jokes. I was a culture person. I was a pop culture person. I was a referential person. I wanted to talk about things that I'd seen or things I loved, and everything from albums to disco to living in Milwaukee. And it was an easy start off for me to talk about living in Milwaukee versus living in Los Angeles. But I guess I wasn't observant enough in both cities yet, both Milwaukee and LA, to make harsh comparisons. I didn't really know enough about LA to be like, oh yeah, well, Milwaukee's nothing like it. Like, I hadn't been there long enough and I hadn't absorbed enough culture of LA to really make that strong assessment. So I had limited resources in that type of comedy of, I'm some Midwestern, bumpkin who's just out here in Hollywood. Like, I didn't have any of that. So hard to get the rocket off the pad until I start realizing that the bear comedians and the bear entertainment was very limited. When I went to these bear runs, it was either drag queens, awesome, female comics, or lesbian guitarists, great. But I saw a gap. I was like, oh, these bear conventions seem to be paying plenty of money for these comics who aren't really bears. They're not really part of the bear community. They don't look like bears. They're just kind of, again, not trying to steal their thunder. They're doing great, I'm sure. They're highly and they got hired for a reason, right? That's why I saw them at the bear event. They have some talent. They have some sort of backing behind them and some sort of, hey, this is what I do. And they saw it. So I thought, well, let me merge in on that freeway. I'm a young, curious and adventurous cub. I've gotten this far. I've chased dreams. Well, I got to do this. So I started marketing myself to bear groups, not just in LA. Oh no, I was looking all over the country. At the time, there was what I call the four majors. Four big, giant bear conventions, hangouts, groups, party weekends that happened around the United States. There was Bear Pride in Chicago that happened in Memorial Day weekend. Perfect, right? 4-day weekend. Fill it up with partying and bears and ooh la la. Yes. It was in Chicago. And it coincided with what is called International Male Leather, or international. It's just called IML now, but I can't say for sure if it's men's leather, but it's just International Leather Weekend in Chicago. A whole new world. So there's that. Then there was Bear Bust in Orlando. And I'm thinking that was in October, because I remember vaguely that there was Halloween theming going on. There was also International Bear Rendezvous. That was the big one. That was in San Francisco. And I believe that was in late January, early February every year. In fact, I think it was mid-February every year. And then there was one more. Oh yeah, TBRU was the up and coming one that was growing and becoming a big thing. And that was in Dallas, Texas. And I believe that was Easter weekend. So late March, early April, depending on where Easter landed on the calendar. That was the big one. There were some other bigger ones that, poked up around the United States and were accessible. The ones I went to were Bear Quake, and that was in Los Angeles here. I think there was a San Diego one. I know there was a Tucson one that I've entertained at a couple times, and that was in Tucson for the Bears of the Old Pueblo. Oh, name a city, there's a bear group. There's a name for them all. Trust me. The Seattle Bears, the Portland Bears, every major city has a grouping. So my strategy was to market to the bears. Hi, I'm a bear. I'm kind of a cub. Yes, that's a younger bear. Again, look it up on Google, kids. Look it up on the Wikipedia. I said it like that on purpose. So, I'm this young cat in the LGBT world, and I'm figuring, well, I'm not the dating's hard, right, ladies, Hollywood comic type that's going to be a Bill Cosby or an Eddie Murphy coming out of the gate. I got to figure out and find my voice. Well, why not work with what I got? Hanging out with the gay bears. Let's do gay bear comedy. I don't know. Here's the long of the short of it. I could go into detail about every gig and every event I did. But the real talk early on for me was that I was just a fresh face. I was a new guy. I was young. I was a comedian. There weren't a lot of bear comedians that I knew of. In fact, for quite a long time, I didn't know a single one of them. I didn't know that they existed. There was, I think, people that were gay comedians, but I didn't hear of anybody that was strictly labeling themselves as a subgenre in the LGBT world as a bear comic. All right, I got a niche, I think. And then here's where the fence started to wobble for me. I start doing these gigs at bear events, and it's fine. I'm not getting major like headlining yet. I'm simply showing, I'm doing either short sets at the show, at the event, just being part of a collective of entertainment, not being like, I'm the star and it's me you're here for. Not even close. I'm, in TBRU in Dallas, I was helping for the first couple of years hosting game shows as part of entertainment. Like we would just set up, $100,000 pyramid, Family Feud, Price is Right every year as a sideshow entertainment for Saturday afternoon. If you had nothing to do, too early for the bars, the pool, you already got your pool in, maybe you just want to have some fun little entertainment. That's what I got hired to do. And it was fun. It was a great time. I met so many people in so many events. The first event that I ever did as a major bear event, because the first one I did was Golden State Bears in Fresno, and it was a tiny event. In fact, I remember performing. Oh, that was the time that I have to talk about. The first time I ever performed was like a backyard with a pool and a stage. Yeah, and I followed what I would label as a gay bear Neil Diamond impersonator. Let that sink in for a moment. Let me just let you take a breath, soak that in. Yes. And I didn't get it, but it was his thing. I love Neil Diamond, but I was like, why is this a gay bear Neil Diamond thing? Why? I didn't understand why it needed to be that. See what I mean? We're starting to crack just little pieces of the wallpaper of why. I'm struggling with this little identity thing of like a bear. I'm a gay bear. Okay, I'm a gay bear. Great. That's what I'm hanging around with. I'm around. I'm stooping. But I'm out there. So yeah, I go to the first gig. That was my first gig. Then I got hooked up somehow, some way, to perform at Bear Bust in Orlando. Ooh, on the checklist of the majors, because that was, again, when I started marketing myself and started putting myself out there thinking this is the avenue I should start paving, that became one of my first goals. Hit the 4 majors. If you can hit the big ones, you've made it. Question mark. Made it in the bear world, I guess? I didn't know where it was going to go. It was too early in the game for me to really grasp what I was going to do with all of this. Where was I going to go with a resume of bear comedy, or at least bear audiences, right? It wasn't labeled as bear comedy because it wasn't specific to the bears, but I was physically a bear comic. Do you see the square peg heading for the round hole? Do you see it coming? It will. Trust. Just pay attention because it's going to come. And then if you don't catch on to it now, it'll hit you in the finale of the comedy portion because it's so weird. So I'm just doing comedy, getting my laughs. People are digging me. I'm very friendly. I've always learned, if there's one thing I've learned from Ice-T's You Played Yourself song, don't be a jerk to the fans, right? Don't play yourself, right? You're too important to shake hands and meet people. Always be nice. So I somehow got this gig in Orlando. Pretty sweet. Free hotel. Got a little pay. Wasn't anything to write home about. But I got to go to the event for free. So realistically, it's cash value. And that event ain't cheap. It's like 100 and something, 200, somewhere in the $125 to $200 range just to register, and then you got a hotel and flight and all the stuff. So I got a free hotel and a small paycheck out of it. As far as, very small, like $100. But it was a paid gig, holy smokes, and it was one of the majors. Be careful what you wish for. First major gig out of the box. I'm on stage and I'm hosting some sort of contest. Bear chest contest, shirtless contest. I don't remember. It was some sort of stag number contest. And this guy gets on stage and he is absolutely bombed out of his mind. You can tell he has had one too many. One eye's rolling over here, one eye's looking over there, stumble boots all the way. And they throw him to the lion's den, put him on stage with a stand-up comic, or at least a wannabe stand-up comic. Of course, I playfully poke fun at his drunkenness because I wasn't going to demean him and treat him like garbage, but I was going to be like, poke him in the ribs. Hey, what's your answer? Yes, absolutely, absolute vodka. Like, it was just being ha ha ha, but not being like, you dumb drunky boots, get off my stage, I'm going to roast you. No, it was just like, does everybody in the room see this guy as trash? Giant wink. Ha ha! Wait for these answers. Like, and I thought it was fine. I got through it. Here's the problem. Two problems, realistically. First problem is, and this is the first observation that I had where I was like, we might be in danger. But I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know how to process it just yet. Because I thought, well, I'm lucky to be here. I'm in Orlando playing for a lot of bear dudes at a bar. And it was at a bar. It was called the Parliament House, I believe. It was this huge outdoor bar in Florida, and Orlando's great. But how hard was it to perform and keep a crowd on a Friday night at a giant gay bar? I mean, what? If I was in a role reversal mode and I was like, Friday night is here, time to kick off them heels and let's party, and I want to get laid, and yeah, Friday, we're the bear bust, and all my friends and girl, let's get it together, let's make it happen. Last thing I want to do is stop down and listen to some guy on stage yammering, try to tell jokes. Whew, tough crowd, not because that your humor isn't funny. Tough crowd because they're not interested. They're very busy working their game. Well, but I kept on. The next morning, I got a call from the hotel saying there was a letter at the front desk for me. Who knew I was in Orlando? Who's sending me mail? I didn't know. What? Why? What? Who's doing that? It was a handwritten letter from somebody in the crowd. Some older dude wrote me this letter complaining to me about my humor and my comedy and making fun of the drunken guy who somehow got tricked into going on stage with a live mic and a stand-up comic. Literally writing a Karen-esque letter about, you should know better, and blah, 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 blah. And also threatening me in a way of, I cannot remember the exacts, but it was something to the effect of, he was the owner or the booker or had some sort of hand in choosing the talent and or bookings for the Lone Star Saloon, which is a very famous gay leather bear trucker bar in San Francisco. So let me get this straight. I'm performing on stage, being paid by the group to do whatever they ask me to do. I do it. I try my best. I am not out there to offend or hurt. I am there to be fun. And I wasn't a pointed comic, by the way. I was not a roast comic. I was not a comic who would point people out in the front row and make fun of them. Not one bit of that. So far, I'm more of an observational mini story kind of anecdote comic. Not a zinger comic. Not a ba-dum-bunks kind of guy. Got some improv skills in me. Got some acting skills in me a little bit. Confidence. Been on a game show already. Hey. Learned how to do stand-up comedy. Performed at the Comedy Store. Woo, who am I now? So I had enough cojones to get up on stage in a bear event and try to run a bear chess contest and try to be funny. And here's this grandpapa getting all angry and ornery on me because eventually I did run into him and he said stuff in person to me to the same extent. And my fresh, young, not able to take critique mind kind of melted. I was very angry, but I was also like, this guy, pff, come on. Because at the end of the day, I had to make a choice. Do I change my tone, or do I stand on my own 2 feet and go, you can hit the bricks, pal. I mean, cute that you're mad, but stay mad, because if I'm offending you, I guess I'm doing something right. Also, nowhere on my list of things to accomplish in my comedy career was making sure I booked the Lone Star Saloon. I was a little bit maybe concerned that it would get back to the entire San Francisco Bear Collective and they would lash out, "We've heard about your strifes in Orlando. You'll never work in this town." I was like, what? Shut the front door. So, yeah, that was an experience. Over the next few years, I started to get gigs at these bear events. And meanwhile, I'm still in Los Angeles, pounding the pavement, making things happen. I'm doing shows and I'm doing these things. And I have a comedy buddy who's Faith Choice, and she's great. And we're riding, riding shotgun from each other, just getting out there. I'm taking improv classes. I'm doing things, right? Getting the entertainment bug and making some headway. Working that MySpace. Oh, I have a website now. Yeah, got to get my own website. That's how you did it. The beating of the drum that I had to do to get people to show up, and it was tough. It was very tough. So for those 3 years, I was working material, making a stand-up comedy set. It wasn't very long yet. Maybe, I was just, again, the luck I had of being able to work a weekly show and keep trying new material, try and throw things up on the wall, all while I'm trying to book bear events. Getting to the bear events for free, that wasn't too bad. I didn't mind that. Part of this was, this early stage of my comedy career was very much me absorbing and trying to observe the business. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have a comedy guru who was by my side and said, "This is what you have to do, kid, to make it. Let me help you book. Let me help you do things. Let me get here's the A, B, and C of how to make it as a comic." I was flying by the seat of my pants, self-marketing, self-promoting, pushing myself. Yes, when other people are on other shows, we all cross-pollinated our promotions, but it was a one-man show as far as promoting. If I did a bear event, yes, they promoted. I provided them a picture and a bio and, all that. But it was, DIY all day. I didn't have a goal yet. I didn't have I'm going to become a HBO special comic. I'm going to become famous. I'm going to be this thing. I was just working it. Building the material, making things happen, trying to get enough material that is solid and just keeping the rapport. And when you're working the rooms, around LA, you're getting 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 at most. If you're lucky, 10. Woo, 10? That's a lifetime. So you had to just figure out what to say and when to say it and how to get those tight jokes in, and give me my tight 5 and the lights at 4 and bam. Hating 2 drink minimums, trying to do as many free rooms or coffee houses as possible because I did not want to succumb people I knew to spending $50 on a Tuesday night for average at best comedy. Oh yeah, self-critical there. I know, but at the end of the day, I'm not a pro. I'm not polished. I'm not shining it yet. I'm just figuring it out and making whatever material I have work. It gets to the point where I finally get up enough material and I am able to do a 30-minute set. 30 minutes at the Ha Ha Cafe for an Out for Laughs show. I pound the drum, shake the tambourine, and I get that place packed with all my gay bear friends and other friends too. But just every gay bear I knew, plus anybody I had at work that was like, yeah, I'll walk, a few blocks and have some $50 Thursday night drinks at the cafe. And I did a long-winded set. It was such an accomplishment for me because, again, I was already crapping my pants trying to get through 8 minutes, much less 30. But after 2 to 3 years of doing this every week and making it work and trying to get it out there, it was more like 2 years. I should be fair, 2 years. Plus doing these bear events and sort of finding a voice, whether it's my voice that is going to be determined. But I'm out there doing it and I'm finally getting enough material. It's a lot of observation. It's a lot of talking about me and my life and my family and my coming out and things that I just kind of know the best I can talk about. Nothing long-winded yet. No crazy wild stories of LA to share with the class. Remember, I'm new to this town. I don't have wild Tinseltown stories to share. I don't have crazy things to give up about my life yet because I didn't really find that I had an interesting life to speak upon yet. I didn't take notes of my last 27 to 30 years of figuring it out. I didn't find bankruptcy funny. I was stressed out beyond words about that. I didn't find all the breakups and boyfriends I had funny. I didn't see humor in that. I didn't find a story to tell in those things yet. So all these things that were happening just weren't really gelling into my comedy. It was just observations, mini stories, anecdotes about me, my family, my coming out, my LA experiences, but nothing out of the ordinary extreme. And it really wasn't that polished yet. So as I'm doing all of this, and I'm doing this self push, and I'm, getting to every LGBT show I can. I'm even getting hooked up on another show that is another gay comedy show happening in Los Angeles, and that's great. I'm starting to get my, feet wet with that. I'm starting to get out there. What I'm starting to notice, though, is that my comedy isn't very gay. I'm in the room with all these comics telling very, very gay jokes. Very gays will get this one kind of jokes. Hey, a lot of referential gay humor about gay things, talking about gay history with gay references in pop culture and music and movies and things. I didn't have that in my playlist. That DJ playlist was missing a lot of that. I started to find some things about that, like my coming out experience and my family and how they reacted, but there wasn't any wild stories again to tell about it. It just kind of happened. My family knew before I did. They were like, yep, we knew. All right, next, pass the potato salad. You're great. Great. Whatever. Didn't see it. So I was just trying to work with whatever I could. Make the best you can with what you got. And I kept doing it. So one fancy year, I go to Dallas for TBRU, Texas Bear Roundup. I'm there to help. I'm there to be part of the gang. I have a lot of friends from LA are going to be there. Hey, that's great. A lot of people I know from the live journal connections of the Gay Bears are all going to be there too. Great. From all over the country. Great. Great. So many cool people to meet. So many friends I've had. So many connections. So many, and it's great. And I'm single. But I start to flirt and canoodle, as I like to say, with this gentleman by the name of Paul. Met him at TBRU. What can I say? I'm a lover, not a fighter. I was getting the butterflies and feeling it. He lived in Dayton, Ohio. I lived in Los Angeles. I hate that. All right. Still doing the comedy. Still making the bucks. Still able to afford things now that I am pretty much paying everything in cash. Not allowed to have cards after you have a bankruptcy. They keep those cards away from you for a few years after you have a fresh bankruptcy. So everything's being paid off in hot cash. And that's great. That way I don't owe anybody for it. It's just there and it's done. So there's this perfect storm that is really more of a tragic storm because I take this left turn past Albuquerque to Dayton, Ohio. What? Paul and I, during this time, I decide that I'm out there single. I'm kind of feeling that I need to be with somebody. I'm getting that biological urge, I guess. I mean, I'm just turning 30. I'm out there in the wild, but I don't want to be alone. I want to be out there in the wild. I don't know what to do. I need a man. I started doing that thing where it's like, I need a man. I need to be with someone. I put some thumb of pressure on the back of my neck for some reason to be with someone. No fault of Paul's. I just was like, I want to be with somebody. And there he was. I got along with him. It was great. He was just this guy I wanted to be with. I kept doing the comedy. I kept doing the phone company. We started doing a long distance thing. We started visiting each other. I started definitely visiting him. Dayton, Ohio. Not a lot out there, but it's cute. Midwest. Hey, Midwest. I'm mad about it. I know the Midwest. Hey, Midwest. Remember me? I used to live a little north and west of you in Milwaukee. So I'm out there just floating along in Los Angeles, paying with cash, got a car, got a life, doing some comedy, got a headshot, getting some, little weird acting things, but nothing like major, like, wow, you're really doing it now. Kind of on my back. I mean, I'm kind of in a stagnant motion. Again, I have a lot of friends out here. Lots of friends. 4 years of developing a lot of bear friendships and just friendships in general, but mostly of the gay bear scene in the Southern California region. So I get restless, and I feel like I want to call this the wrong move. But it's not like I had a right move that I had in front of me. There was no right move to look at. I could easily say, I have regrets, but I didn't complain about it. I didn't hate it. I didn't look back. I still, to this day, don't look back and go, what was I thinking? You're so dumb. Live in regrets. You did the worst thing ever. How do you blame a dude who's been single for a few years and he's happy and he wants to, share that with somebody and does whatever it takes to do that? LA wasn't doing anything for me specifically. I didn't have anything here that was like tying me down, like, oh yeah, you better be here otherwise. And it's not like my comedy career was so red hot that I had to stay for it. There was nobody holding anything over me. I was an independent contractor. I was all by myself. Nobody had any sort of like, you got to be here and do these things. So I got an itch, and soon enough, I decide to break the LA experience, to be with Paul. He wasn't ready to just move out to LA on a whim because he had a day job too. He had a Midwestern life. He was working a day job, and it's just like I do, a working stiff of the Midwest. That sounds familiar. I know that. So I'm not going to ask this guy, hey, pack your life up and just move in out to LA. I have no dreams and no plans, but we'll figure it out, kid. I know you've been at that job for 15 years, but hey, sky's the limit. I had the freedom. I had the money. I had the flexibility. I had the sense of adventure. I had nothing to lose. Or did I? That is absolutely going to be answered in a future podcast. But it's fine. Again, I know I'm being very pausey and very contemplative about how I address this. But realistically, at that time in 2004, I was loving the comedy bug, loving the entertainment world, enjoying Hollywood for what it is in the smallest way I could possibly muster, which is doing stand-up comedy and trying to get my face out there, I guess. I never looked at myself as an actor. I never looked at myself as somebody who needed to be this famous person yet. I was just like, I want to do stand-up and get paid and figure out how to be funny and do that. That's what I want for my day job. But I didn't know how to do it yet. It was was a very hard path to take. That's why a lot of people don't succeed in it. It's very hard. Lots to bite off and chew with that if you're doing it by yourself. So I make the daring move to pack up what I had in LA and move to be with Paul in Ohio. Just was in love, a boy in love, and wanted to be with him. And it was fine because I planned out that I could do bear events from any city, really. I didn't have to live in LA to book bear events. If I was a bear and I was a comic, I could have lived in Timbuktu and Poughkeepsie. It didn't matter. As long as I was accessible and friendly and had my press package and knew what I was doing, they'd book me. I guess the luster wears off if you're not from LA, but whatever. It just, I could still call myself an LA comic, I guess. They didn't need to know I lived in Ohio, but that's what I did. The taste in my mouth for working at the phone company was drawing to a close. I was tasting this bug for entertainment. I was wanting to get out there more and more and more and more. I started not wanting to be at work more and more, so it just seemed right. After 5 years between Milwaukee and LA working for a utility company, a phone service that is, part of the statewide infrastructure, time to take a chance. But what was I going to find in Dayton, Ohio? Well, that is going to be discussed in the next episode, of course. But here I am, booking bear events, starting to get my name out there in the gay bear world and a little bit in the gay world because I'm doing LGBT gigs in LA. And I'm starting to get material. 30 minutes is in my pocket so far. Not too shabby after a few years' work. Pounding that stand-up comedy circuit all by myself. Couple friends, making some, comic friends along the way, and that's great too. I love the camaraderie. I was a different voice, but I definitely could tell I was starting to not feel like I was in the right zone. Didn't know how to fix that yet, but maybe this trip to Dayton, Ohio would shake it up a little bit. We're going to find out in the next episode of New Job Who Dis. Of course, I can't give you it all, my darlings, as it is. When I go an hour long, I'm sure all of you are just like, man, wrap it up. But hey, this stand-up comedy, episode, this is like a Yes song. There's like 7 or 8 suites to this one. You have to stick with this because this is the hard ups and downs of stand-up comedy. This is where it's taking me and what I'm starting to get out of LA and booking these bear events where I didn't have a plan. I thought maybe, I thought maybe I could work what would be considered the, what they call the gay circuit. I would be doing, cruise ships and gay comedy, pride events and, all sorts of very boxed in one note. I'm a gay comic and that's all I am. So far, I'm barely a bear comic and I'm starting to become the bear comic for a very, very short period of time in the 2000s through 2010. I was starting to become the it bear comic. But as we will soon find out, that is not where I needed to be. Tune in on Friday. As I will always say, please, 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 please tune in on the next episode. But thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for understanding where this confusing road of comedy and workplace is going to go. I don't know, because it's just this Wild West. My 10 listeners, thank you for coming back. As always, please beat the drum. Please share it with your friends. Please comment. Please subscribe. Please, get it out there. I mean, we are 21 episodes in. We're just halfway. We have, I want to say 16-ish years of ups and downs to get through. So I hope you will stick it out because there is a big grand finale of how it all turns out to where I am right now. as Halston Body, as a pro wrestling manager, as your prism of excellence in the pro wrestling managerial world. Thank you again for tuning in. As I always say every week, every episode, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your sister, tell your brother, tell everyone. This has been New Job. Who dis?